WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
I'm Kyle Long, host of Cultural Manifesto, just one of the local music programs you can enjoy on WFYI. These programs would not be possible without your financial support. And to say thank you, we want to send you to see Lyle Lovett when he comes to Indianapolis on July 28th. Choose a concert ticket as your gift when you donate at wfyi.org/give. And thanks for supporting WFYI.
What we're gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
This is Butch Slaughter, and you're listening to the echoes of Indiana Avenue. Welcome to my neighborhood, the Avenue. I grew up here, and each week I'll be sharing the sounds and stories of the people that made the Avenue great. Welcome back to the Avenue. For the next 2 weeks on Echoes of Indiana Avenue, we'll be joined by the great Indianapolis jazz drummer, Larry Clark. Larry is a veteran of the Naptown jazz scene, and he's performed with dozens of Indianapolis jazz legends, including the Hampton Sisters, David Baker, Pookie Johnson, Steve Weakley, and many more. Larry has also played with jazz stars outside the Indianapolis scene, like James Moody, Groove Holmes, Rusty Bryant, and David Fathead Newman. In 2005, Larry's work was honored by the Indianapolis Jazz Foundation when he was inducted into the Indianapolis Jazz Hall of Fame. Larry remains active in the Naptown jazz scene today and currently serves as the president of the Indianapolis Musicians Union. Join us for the next 2 weeks as Larry shares his memories of working on the Avenue. Larry will also share never-before-heard music from his collection of cassette tapes featuring unreleased live recordings of his work during the 1970s and 80s. And we'll hear music from one of those tapes now, featuring Larry's work with the legendary jazz guitarist Floyd Smith. Recorded live at Eagle Creek Park in September of 1979, this is Floyd Smith with People Make the World Go Round. That was the legendary jazz guitarist Floyd Smith with People Make the World Go Round, recorded live at Eagle Creek Park in 1979. That track featured Larry Clark on drums. Larry recently spoke with WFYI's Cal Long. Let's join their conversation as Larry discusses his family life and his early years in music.
Thank you for being here, Larry.
It's a joy, you know.
Yeah, I love talking to you. You have so much incredible information and history. It's unbelievable.
Well, that's all I have.
I don't know about that.
History.
Yeah. I disagree with that. But the last time we talked, we spoke about your dad, who was a drummer. You're a drummer. Your dad was born in Rhode Island or grew up in Rhode Island?
He was born in Providence, East Providence, Rhode Island. So was I. And he was an incredible individual, man. You know, he did a lot of different things. And from the family tree, you know, he had a cousin that was a drummer also, and they used to compete all the time, you know. And then he was actually the director of a drum and bugle corps there. So actually, they would have parades, you know, like on the weekends, and all the drums would wind up in our living room, you know. And I was like, I can really remember this at 2 years old, crawling around, tapping on these drums. And that got into my head, and I've never been able to get it out, you know.
The family came here in the 1950s, correct?
Right. Uh-huh.
What brought you to Indianapolis?
Well, my father had I don't know if you're familiar with Roscoe Turner, aircraftman. He was a pilot, and he was very well known around the world. He had a business here, and my father came to work for him. As a matter of fact, as far as I understand, he was the first African American to get a license as an aircraft mechanic. So that was his whole dream to do that. You know?
He'd been in the Air Force too, correct?
Army Air Corps at that time.
Yeah.
Right.
Did he continue playing music when he came to Indianapolis?
Well, he stopped for a great while. You know, like when he left Providence, he focused on family and getting his career. But then, as most musicians, he can never get away from it. There's a line from a movie: every time I try to get out, they pull me back in. And that was my father, you know. And I can remember, well, actually, I had some pictures where we used to go down on the avenue, and you know where the Walker is? West Street turns in curves there. We were standing there watching the bands marching around the corner. You know, they'd start at Watkins Center Park and then go all the way down to Military Park. And I can remember sitting there on his shoulders watching this happen, man. You know, it was incredible.
You told me he'd played with Sarah Vaughan, I think. Who were some of the folks? And was that back in Rhode Island?
That was back in Rhode Island.
Tell me a little bit about his music history.
Well, my father's music history. He played, he had his own group for a long time. You know, him and Uncle Paulie, they had their group. And they used to travel up and down the coast playing with different people. And then Sarah Vaughan was one.
Sarah Vaughan.
Sarah Vaughan, yeah. And then, well, you know, actually there was a saxophonist here, Cy Jones.
Cy Floor Show Jones,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, actually he and my dad were together in the military.
Oh, wow.
In the Pacific,
yeah.
You know. And he worked with Cy, and he worked with a lot of different groups here. Big bands, small ensembles.
Yeah. And I remember you told me you got started playing music around age 12. You were in a group that played Afro-Latin percussion called the Bongo Babes, right?
Ah, you remember that. Right.
Yeah, I've looked that up. I've tried to find, because there wasn't a lot of Afro-Latin music in Indianapolis.
No, there wasn't.
The 50s and before. Yeah,
there was very little.
Tell me about that group.
Well, what happened was, I hadn't even gotten into high school yet. But my sister was at Tech High School, and then her and two other young ladies got together, and then Bobby Slaughter decided he wanted to put a group together. So we started rehearsing in his mother's living room, you know. And then he would like book gigs at different colleges, and we'd go to these colleges and perform. It was incredible. You know, matter of fact, I fell in love with Linda. Her name was Linda Harris. She was an incredibly beautiful lady and dancer, man. They could all dance. You know, her sister Tiny, she was one of the dancers, and then my sister. There was three of them. You know.
What kind of music were you playing? Were you just playing rhythms, or were you?
It was just rhythms. Yeah. And chants. We did a lot of chanting.
Where did you learn that in Indianapolis?
Actually, I didn't learn it in Indianapolis. Her mother was Puerto Rican, you know, and she grew up in the Cuban community. So that was a part of my culture. I grew up with that in the house.
I know there was a small Mexican community in Indianapolis during the 50s and 60s, but there wasn't much of a Latin community. How did your mom survive here? Did she enjoy living in Indianapolis?
Well, it was a challenge for her. She actually became a beautician. She studied at Madam C.J. Walker, which was a part of that storyline, because I grew up at the Walker Building. And then my dad, he used to do stage shows out there, Every Sunday they had a stage show, and I was a little troublemaker. I was a little kid running around backstage and in the audience, man. I was called Speedy Gonzalez. It's funny. I have a friend right now. He's like my big brother, Rudy Fennell. We met at Tech High School. And Rudy still to this day says, man, every time I saw you, you was running. You could never walk anywhere. You was always running. And he was right. Yeah.
I read a story that you were up in the projection booth at the Walker Theater. I don't know if they let you run the projector or you were just messing around.
Oh, yeah, well, being a little kid, they taught me how to run that projector.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, my mother being a beautician and me down there during the daytime, I learned how, they had the old elevator with the throw arm, and the guy taught me how to run that, and then I'd go into the theater and get my popcorn and go up to, or a hot dog and go up to the booth, and he showed me how to run the projectors and everything,
That's amazing.
It was a lot of fun growing up.
What do you remember about the neighborhood at that time, the Avenue neighborhood? What was
Avenue?
the atmosphere like?
Oh, man, it was incredible. The ladies would come on Thursday, on the weekend, and get their hair done so they can go out on the weekend. And the lady that was in charge of the salon, she finally became in charge of the school, Miss Bailey. But the thing of it is, her husband, John Bailey, was a sergeant on the police force. And I can remember him picking me up, carrying me down the street, because I was a little bitty dude, at that time. And I remember all these things, and then seeing these ladies, and then seeing the pomp and circumstance, man, all the glory and the glamour that was there, and the respect that was happening, And then, like I said, being in that Walker, in the salon, man, listening to these ladies talk,
You said your dad was playing on Sundays for the shows at the Walker.
They had a stage show every Sunday.
Yeah.
They started, and they would have the Billy Ball and the Upsetters was the house band. Then they'd have other groups come in. Matter of fact, Kenny Dotson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, their group.
Sensations.
Yeah, they started there. They had a contest that they would run, and Kenny and them won the contest several times. So they got tired of them winning, and that's when Billy Ball invited them to join at the Flame.
Who would your dad have been playing with?
He played with everybody, but he was in Billy Ball's band.
He was. Wow.
Yeah, he was the drummer with Billy Ball and the Upsetters.
What years was he with them?
Oh, man, this was in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can remember they would go out of town and leave the house to us, and we would have parties at the house.
That was like the hottest rhythm and blues band in the city at one point, right?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did he record with them? They made a couple records.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know,
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I was a kid, man. I was just having fun.
Yeah, that must have been exciting. Your dad is in this hot R&B group.
Well, it actually opened some doors.
Yeah. That's amazing. I had another question about Latin percussion in Indianapolis. You said you were basically learning this stuff off records you would hear at home, right?
Right.
Were there any other percussionists in town at that time? I know in the 60s and 70s there was a guy named Ramon Lopez.
Yeah, I knew Ramon.
Yeah. Tell me, were there any other percussionists here?
Oh, there were a lot of percussionists.
Yeah.
Actually, Richard Moore, he was a janitor at Tech. He was the one, he played the congas in our group. And I learned a lot from him. There was a lot of, well, actually what happened was like in Douglas Park and Military Park, you had drum circles. Drumming was always around, So you sit there and you learn. First instrument I played out was bongos. And then I got into playing congas and loved my djembe.
Yeah. So there were other people here you could learn from, and
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It wasn't.
Well, actually, I don't know if you ever heard of Kent Brinkley, bass player.
Oh yeah, from Tech, yeah.
Well,
And Freddie Hubbard and everybody.
Yeah, Kent was a conga player. People don't know that, man. Like, we used to play congas together. Yeah.
You were probably about the same age as him, right?
We were the same age, yeah.
Did you go to school with Kent Brinkley?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Did you see the talent in him that would turn him into this global force in music? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, here's the thing. Okay, Larry Liggett was our musical director. He was the director at School 56 and School 37. Kent went to 56. Kent lived across the park from me. I lived on Ralston, and I can't remember the name of the street, but it's right across the street from us. And I know there was Martindale, but the thing of it is, Kent, we would all get together and play.
Yeah, you mentioned Larry Liggett was your music teacher at a young age. He was a star of the Indianapolis jazz scene, played for years on Indiana Avenue, made recordings for Chess Records up in Chicago that were like jukebox hits back in the day. You told me he was strict as a teacher.
Oh, God.
Did you... Were you scared of him? Was he?
Everybody was. What you talking about? What were we scared of him?
Or was he someone you could learn from and kind of be a friend
you still
to?
learn. You still learn. Because like when I joined the band in 5th grade, normally you have to work your way into it. He put me right in it because he knew my background. See, from the time I started at 5, learning my rudiments and stuff. My dad was the hardest teacher I ever had. He was the strictest, man. I mean, I tell the story. I will never forget it. We were living out on the south side, on Harlan. He gave me a lesson to learn. And I'm in the kitchen, playing, learning my lesson. And he's in the living room watching, I think, TV. So I got to jamming. I'm jamming. Back. Yeah, I can play this. Look at this. I'm getting excited. Little did I know he was standing behind me. And he said, all right, Junior, stand up. I stood up. Give me them sticks. Gave me sticks about like that, 3 S's. He set them on the chair, one of those hard kitchen chairs. He said, sit down. 5 minutes go by. What's this all about? 10 minutes go by. A half hour goes by. My behind was hurting, in deep pain. Needless to say, he never had to get on me again about my lessons. I took care of business,
And I think you told me you didn't really start pursuing professional music until you'd returned to Indianapolis from your time in the Air Force.
Right.
And you came back around 1969, right?
October 17th, 1969.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I landed in Indianapolis, Indiana, from Biloxi, Mississippi. My sister took me out that night to celebrate at the 19th hole. And that was the first time I saw Johnny Lytle, and the person went on to be one of my heroes is Joselle Carter. And I mean, Joselle was on fire, man. A lot of people don't know just how incredible he was, man.
How did you go about getting involved in the music scene from that point?
Well, my father went to work with Larry Liggett. He had been working with Cy Jones at Tanganyika Inn in Franklin, Indiana. So he said, Junior, you want a gig? I said, yeah, okay, yeah. I was happy, excited. And I went on, started playing with Cy. And Charles, Chubby? You ever heard of him?
Chubby Massey?
Yeah, Chubby Massey. Chubby was on organ. I can't remember the guitar player. But yeah.
Yeah. What kind of music was Cy Jones playing at that time?
Actually, Cy played some of the old jazz songs, but he basically was playing R&B. Because Chubby, fuck that organ, man,
Yeah. From there, who did you start playing with to kind of branch out here in Indianapolis?
I played with LaVon Kemp. I played with, there was another group, Carl Hines, Bill Pennick, Gooch. I can't remember the name of the group now. Wow, I'm getting old. No, but anyway, they had a group. My dad was a drummer originally. Here's the thing. I was blessed to have a lot of elders around me that cared enough and saw potential to push me in the right direction. And they were critical.
Let's take a break from our conversation with Larry Clark and listen to a track featuring his work on percussion, recorded live at the Madam Walker Theater. This is Billy Wooten and his Music Royale Latin Jazz Ensemble with Coco Sego. Stay tuned. Echoes of Indiana Avenue will return with more words and music from Larry Clark after this short break.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.
This is Butch Slaughter, and you're listening to the Echoes of Indiana Avenue. This is the first episode in our two-part series exploring the music of Larry Clark, a legendary Naptown jazz drummer who performed with many stars of the Indiana Avenue scene. Up next, we'll hear another track from Larry's 1979 performance with Floyd Smith at Eagle Creek Park. This is Floyd Smith with the Eagle Creek Amphitheater Merengue. That was the legendary jazz guitarist Floyd Smith with the Eagle Creek Amphitheater Merengue, recorded live at Eagle Creek Park in 1979. That track featured Larry Clark on drums. Larry recently spoke with WFYI's Kyle Long. Let's return to their conversation as Larry recalls performing at Al's British Lounge, a legendary Indiana Avenue nightclub.
I know you played a lot at the British Lounge, Al's British Lounge on the Avenue.
That was my university.
Yeah. They would critique you, right? You would go in and play, and the old school musicians would critique you. Tell me about the atmosphere there for musicians.
The atmosphere, every Monday, you had the elders come in and they would play. They'd start off the show, and they would invite young musicians to come up and join them. you know. And not like today, you don't bring a piece of paper up, and, you know, because the way we looked at it, this is information. And when you drop it, that's all it is. It's not music until you play it. Then the elders would get you up there, one on one side, one on the other, and you had to play. And they would, like, critique you. Drummers, man, they was like, oh, my God, Thomas Whitted, Paul Parker, Clem Tiggs, Hugh Watts, man, Sonny Johnson, all of these cats, man. There was about 10 or 15 drummers. Killer Ray Appleton. You know, sometimes Joe Dukes would be in town. He'd be down there, and Joe was like my big brother. He was little to me, but he's still my big brother. And these cats, man, they would, like, school you. They say, hey, man, try this. Try that. Man, try this. And each one of them had their own specialty. So it was like you go to a university, you go to this class, you go to this class, and there's a series of classes that you go and you have to learn from each one of them. And that's exactly what these drummers were. You know, they would all had something special to give you. And they would tell you, you don't sound like me, man, don't play like me. You better not play like me. You know, take that information and scramble them eggs for yourself.
And you mentioned Joe Duke. He was Jack McDuff's drummer, right?
Yes,
but
he was.
He spent a lot of time here.
Oh, my God, yes.
What was that all about? Did he have some sort of connection here? Or he just hanging out here?
That was Indianapolis. See, Indianapolis was like I said, it was the hub of the wheel for the country. Cats would come here. Floyd Smith was from, St. Louis. He came here and lived. So you had a lot. Jimmy McDaniels came here to live. All these cats that came here, you know. So Joe Dukes would hang around, man, and we became friends.
You were playing at the British Lounge. Were there other clubs on the avenue that you were playing in? You mentioned the Sunset.
Sunset, Surfside was down further.
Right, 30th and Northwestern, somewhere around there?
25th.
25th, okay, yeah.
And then you had Blue Eagle, which was in the middle. Then there was a whole bunch of clubs all up and down the avenue. You know, at some point in time, the after-hour joints,
Did you play in the after-hour clubs?
Yeah, that was your initiation. If you didn't play them, you know. But you loved it because you get off 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. You go have breakfast, go home, go to bed. Yeah. It was like you learned to, it was 24/7. At that time, music was a lifetime adventure, man, you know. It wasn't a job, it was an adventure. And you get off the gig and you go to somebody else's gig and you listen to them play. Maybe you sit in and play a number or two, and then you go out to breakfast. And that's what we did, man. You know, we had restaurants and stuff. We'd all meet. Or there was this barbecue place over on Illinois, around 20th and Illinois. It was in a house. And the way you got to it, you had to go through this alley. You go up to 21st Street, I think it is, 22nd Street. Go through this alley and then in the back of the house. If you hadn't seen anybody in a week or a month, 9 times out of 10, you were going to run into somebody there.
You mentioned Floyd Smith, and that was one of the main gigs of your early career, right? Playing with Floyd?
He was like in the middle.
In the middle, okay.
In the middle.
But that was a long-running gig for you, correct?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, a couple of decades, man.
And as you mentioned, Floyd was from St. Louis.
Yeah.
He, in 1939, he was in the Andy Kirk Band, and he played what is considered the first electric guitar solo.
Floyd's Guitar Blues.
Yeah.
I have it.
Jazz or blues idiom. Yeah.
I have it.
Yeah. And that earned him a place in the history books forever.
Yeah.
And he was a big deal. And he moved to Indianapolis, played gigs here locally at nightclubs and hotel lounges, all kinds of places.
Yeah, we were at the Hilton.
Yeah, tell me about working with Floyd.
Oh, Floyd, man. Oh, God. My kids call him Uncle Floyd. You know, that's just a family thing, man. Floyd was the most incredible, hard-nosed person you ever want to meet. But he had the biggest heart. He got me one time. We wanted to wait. I used to like pick him up for the gigs, you know, because I'm driving. I got drums, lug in, and all these guys are guitar and amp. So, you know, you might as well ride with me. Man, I had my music blowing. Some Cecil Taylor or something like that. You know, and he said, man, turn that, very explicitly, junk off. And then I turned it off, and he said, what kind of music are we getting ready to play? I said, standards. Is it that type of music? He said, no. So why are you playing all that stuff, messing your mind up? We getting ready to go play something else? I said, oh, okay. It changed my whole way of thinking. Like, when I hooked up with him first, I'm like I'd been playing Elvin, Jack DeJohnette, and, you know, all this aggressive style. And he said, man, all I want you to do is ting, 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 with a brush on a cymbal. And shh, 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 and chip, chip, boom, chip, boom, chip, boom, chip. 4 hours straight. On occasion, I could pick up a stick. And it just stayed there. 4 hours. But an interesting thing happened. All of a sudden, that ting, ting opened up. And I began to hear colors coming out of that cymbal I had never heard before. I'd hit it one place, I'd hear a color. I hit it another place, I'd hear the color. And I was beginning to like go back and forth, creating patterns. Ting, 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 ting. And I'm playing rudiments on one hand. I got so hooked into that. We would play a song and he would get ready to take it out. I get mad. Why are you taking the song out? Play some more.
He had also played with the organist Bill Doggett, and you told me that Bill Doggett's hit record Honky Tonk was like the centerpiece of his stage act.
Oh my God!
Right?
We did a thing at the Hyatt. Was it the Hyatt? I think so. That's the one on Capitol on this east side of the street, right? Okay, we're there, and Jimmy Cole's big band. We're doing a split show. We're playing, and we did our little show. And then he said, all right, boys. The ladies came up. Said, one more number? He said, all right, let's put the pots on. Man, you hear it on that tape.
Yeah.
He started playing that thing, man, and that whole place began to pulse. We got through, and we tearing down, moving off the stage. And this little old lady walks by. She says, oh, who's the next band? Somebody said, Jimmy Cole. I don't want to hear that. Bring that trio back. Floyd would like wear cats out, man.
You know, I mentioned Floyd is known around the world. He's part of music history. What did it mean to you to have this time playing with him on an extended basis?
Floyd Smith was like family to me, but I didn't realize how great he was until I was in Germany. Clifford was with me at the time. We were together. We went in this music store, and I'd heard all these stories, seen these articles and all this stuff. was talking to this guy, the owner, and he said, well, who have you worked with? And I began to name off Moody, Groove Holmes, Fathead, Spoon. I was naming these lists. And I said, and I worked with Floyd Smith. He said, Floyd Smith? I said, yes. He said, wait a minute. Went to the back of the store, came back, and gave me the album, Floyd's Guitar Blues. Had not been opened. It still has not been opened. That's when I realized the magnitude of who I was in company with, man.
Larry, before we go, I want to give you a chance to talk about your upcoming concert for Juneteenth. It's at Jamaica Breeze, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We will be at Jamaica Breeze. It's a series that New York is promoting. They're taking care of all expenses for the communities. So William Taylor and I got together and we talked it through. So we have several bands that are going to be playing. Roy Geezer. We did it once with Kathy Morris, but Kathy's doing another gig there, so she's not going to be there, unfortunately. I love Kathy. But we're going to do this concert. This one, if the weather permits, we will be outdoors doing it because they have this big field. We did it last year, and it was a big success. So,
In it's on June 19th?
June 19th.
Yeah. Is that a Wednesday?
I believe so.
Yeah.
It's on a Wednesday.
What time is it going to happen?
Starts at 4 o'clock, 4 to 8.
Yeah.
We want to get in so families can come, kids can enjoy it, and just have a good time. That's what we're about anymore. Jerome Cheatham, Arthur Cantrell, Hank Hankerson, and myself, that's my group. And we just want to have fun. We're going to have a great time. And we're inviting everybody. It's free to the public, and bring your kids and just bring your little old lunch buckets or whatever. And we're just going to have a good time.
June 19th, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Jamaican Breeze.
Yes.
Let's pause and listen to another track featuring Larry Clark's work as a drummer. From the 2003 album, The Hampton Sisters, a jazz tribute, we'll hear Summertime, featuring Alitra Hampton on piano and vocals, Virtue Hampton on bass and vocals, Alonzo Pookie Johnson on saxophone, and Larry Clark on drums.
Summertime, and the living is easy. Fish are jumping, and the cotton is high.
That's all the time we have for this week. Thanks for tuning in for the first episode in our two-part series exploring the music of Larry Clark. You can meet me here on the Avenue again next week, same time, same place. And you can find the Echoes of Indiana Avenue podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, or wherever you download your podcast. Echoes of Indiana Avenue is written and produced by Kyle Long and hosted and co-produced by me, Herman Butch Slaughter.
Nobody knows on uptown, baby, like I do. Nobody knows on uptown, baby, like I do. If you will stop listen, I will tell you a thing or two.
WFYI podcasts are made possible by Bloomington, Indiana, an American college town offering experiences like indulging in grub at Nick's English Hut, taking a stroll along Kirkwood Avenue, feeling the history and magic of Assembly Hall, and providing the chance to feel like a college kid again. Plan your trip at visitbloomington.com.